Picture yourself standing at the edge of a vast canyon. Behind you lies every mistake, every setback, and every failure you've ever experienced. Most people spend their entire lives with their backs turned to this canyon, afraid to look, afraid to remember, afraid to confront what lies in their past. But what if I told you that this canyon isn't filled with your failures at all? What if I told you it's filled with diamonds, precious lessons waiting to be mined? I remember the day I lost everything I had worked for over a decade to build. My business crumbled in a matter of weeks. My reputation was in tatters, and my confidence was shattered. I did what most people do. I ran. I ran from the pain, from the memories, from the lessons, until one day I realized something profound. I wasn't running from my failures. I was running from my future. You see, our past experiences are not tombstones marking the death of our dreams. They are seeds planted in the fertile soil of our consciousness, waiting for the moment we're brave enough to water them with understanding, nurture them with reflection, and allow them to grow into the mighty trees of wisdom that will shelter our future success. Today, I want to challenge you to turn around, face that canyon of your past, because the truth is, the greatest tragedy in life isn't failing, it's failing to learn from our failures. The past is not a prison that confines us, it's a classroom that defines us. But only if we have the courage to attend its lessons. Are you ready to transform your memories into momentum? Are you prepared to turn your setbacks into setups for your greatest comeback? Because today we're going to discover how to mine the diamonds of wisdom from the depths of our experiences and use them to build an unshakable foundation for our future. The power to revolutionize your tomorrow doesn't lie in avoiding your yesterday. It lies in understanding it, embracing it, and most importantly, learning from it. Let's begin this journey of transformation together. Let me tell you about two individuals who faced the exact same setback. Both lost their jobs during a company restructuring after 15 years of service. The first person, let's call him Marcus, saw this event as final proof that life was unfair. "This always happens to me," he would say. "I'm just not lucky enough to succeed." He carried this story like a heavy chain, letting it define not just his past, but his future. The second person, Sarah, initially felt the same crushing disappointment. But there was a crucial difference in how she processed this experience. Instead of seeing it as a final verdict on her capabilities, she asked herself, "What can this teach me about where I want to go next?" Two people, one event, two entirely different futures. Why? Because while Marcus was trapped in what I call the prison of fixed thinking, Sarah held the key to her own liberation. This prison isn't built with steel and concrete. It's constructed from something far more restrictive, our beliefs about who we are and what we're capable of. The walls are made of phrases like, "I've always been this way and that's just who I am." The bars are forged from statements like, "I can't change and it's too late for me." But here's what's fascinating. This prison exists only in our minds, yet its impact on our lives is more real than any physical barrier. When we're locked in fixed thinking, we become wardens of our own limitation. We patrol the boundaries of our comfort zone, making sure we never venture too far into the territory of possibility. Think about your own life for a moment. What stories about your past do you replay like a broken record? What labels have you accepted as permanent fixtures of your identity? "I'm not good with money." "I always mess up relationships." "I'm not creative." These aren't just thoughts. They're the building blocks of your personal prison. The true cost of this imprisonment isn't just in the opportunities we miss. It's in the person we never become. Every time we use our past as evidence for why we can't change, we're essentially sentencing our future self to live within the confines of our current limitations. But here's the liberating truth. The door to this prison has always been unlocked. The key lies in understanding that your past experiences are not your future potential. Every moment you've lived through, especially the painful ones, contains within it the seeds of transformation, but only if you're willing to see them as fertile soil rather than concrete walls. The question isn't whether you've failed or made mistakes. We all have. The question is, are you using these experiences as bricks to build walls around yourself, or as stepping stones toward your next level of growth? Today, right now, you have a choice. Will you continue to be the prisoner of your past, or will you become the architect of your future? Because the moment you decide to view your history not as a sentence but as a source of wisdom, the walls of that mental prison begin to crumble. What if I told you that right now, in this very moment, your brain is rewiring itself, that every experience you've ever had has left an imprint, not just in your memory, but in the very structure of your mind? This isn't motivational poetry. This is the fascinating science of neuroplasticity. And it's the key to understanding why your past holds such tremendous power for your future. Let me share something remarkable about your brain. Scientists have discovered that when we learn from experience, we don't just store information, we create new neural pathways. Think of it like this. Every time you reflect on a past experience, you're not just remembering it. You're literally carving new paths in your mind. It's like turning a dirt trail into a paved road through repeated use. But here's where it gets interesting and where you have more power than you might realize. Your brain doesn't distinguish between what you've done and what you've deeply learned from. When you actively reflect on an experience, your brain processes it similarly to living through it again, but this time with the advantage of wisdom and perspective. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how some people can go through the same experience 20 times and never learn from it, while others can face a challenge once and extract lessons that transform their entire life? The difference isn't in the experience itself, it's in how they process it. Let me introduce you to what I call the experience processing matrix. 1, passive remembering. This is when you simply recall what happened. It's like watching a movie of your past without engaging with it. While this might bring emotional responses, it rarely leads to growth. 2, active learning. This is when you engage with your memories like a detective looking for patterns, understanding triggers, and identifying decision points. This is where real transformation begins. 3, strategic integration. This is the highest level, where you take those insights and deliberately weave them into your future decisions and actions. Think about the last significant setback you faced. Most people get stuck in passive remembering, replaying the painful moments, feeling the same emotions, but never moving beyond them. But those who master the art of learning from experience understand that every setback contains within it the seeds of success, if you know how to extract them. Let me give you a real-world example that revolutionized an entire industry. In the early days of a now famous technology company, they launched a product that was an absolute disaster. It cost them millions and nearly bankrupted the company. But instead of just remembering the failure, they did something remarkable. They created what they called a failure analysis protocol. Every mistake, every misstep, every poor decision was documented and analyzed. They didn't just remember what went wrong. They understood why it went wrong and how to prevent it in the future. This isn't just corporate strategy, it's brain science in action. When they engaged in this deep analysis, they were literally creating new neural pathways, transforming their collective failure into institutional wisdom. Today, that company is worth billions, not despite their early failure, but in many ways because of how they learned from it. But here's what's truly exciting. Your brain has the same capability. The same neuroplasticity that allows you to learn a new language or master a new skill can be harnessed to transform your past experiences into future wisdom. The key lies in understanding that reflection isn't just thinking about the past, it's actively rewiring your brain for future success. Every time you examine a past experience with the intention to learn, you're not just remembering, you're literally rebuilding your neural architecture. This is why people who master the art of learning from experience seem to have an almost unfair advantage in life. They're not just accumulating experiences, they're accumulating wisdom. They're not just getting older, they're getting better. Every setback, every failure, every disappointment becomes not just a memory, but a module in their personal growth curriculum. Think about what this means for you. Every experience you've ever had, good or bad, triumph or tragedy, isn't just a part of your history. It's raw material waiting to be transformed into wisdom. The question is, are you ready to move beyond passive remembering into active learning and strategic integration? Because once you understand how your brain processes and learns from experience, you can begin to consciously direct this process. You can transform your past from a series of memories into a powerful toolkit for future success. Let me share with you what I call the 3 pillars of past-powered growth, a framework that will transform how you view and use your experiences. These aren't just theoretical concepts, they are practical tools that have helped thousands of individuals turn their past into a launching pad for their future. Pillar 1, conscious reflection. Imagine your past experiences as a vast library. Most people walk through this library with their eyes closed, occasionally bumping into memories, but never really reading them. Conscious reflection is about learning to open your eyes and read these books of experience with purpose and intention. Here's how to master conscious reflection. First, create what I call a resolution-free zone. This is a mental space where you're not trying to fix anything or make immediate changes. You're simply observing like a scientist studying a phenomenon with genuine curiosity. When you remove the pressure to immediately solve or change something, you create space for deeper understanding. Let me share a technique I call the 3-layer deep dive. Layer 1, what happened? Facts without judgment. Layer 2, how did I respond? Actions and reactions. Layer 3, what patterns can I identify? Underlying themes. The power of this approach lies in its ability to separate facts from feelings, patterns from isolated incidents. It's like turning on different layers of lighting in a room. Each layer reveals something new that was previously hidden in shadow. Pillar 2, pattern recognition. This is where the magic begins to happen. Pattern recognition is your mind's superpower, the ability to see connections and recurring themes across different experiences. It's like having a bird's eye view of your life's maze instead of being stuck within its walls. Consider these 3 key patterns to look for. 1, trigger points. What consistently sets you off course? These aren't just external events, but internal responses that become predictable once you learn to spot them. 2, response cycles. How do you typically react when faced with challenges? Your responses often follow a predictable pattern, like a dance you've memorized without realizing it. 3, outcome loops. What are the consistent results of your actions? Sometimes what we think of as bad luck is actually a predictable outcome of our repeated behaviors. I once worked with a business leader who couldn't understand why she kept losing key employees. Through pattern recognition, she discovered that her stress response during challenging projects was creating a toxic environment, a pattern she had been blind to for years. Once she saw it, she could change it. Pillar 3, strategic implementation. This is where knowledge transforms into power. Strategic implementation is the bridge between understanding your past and reshaping your future. It's not enough to know, you must know how to use what you know. Let me introduce you to the ACRE method of strategic implementation. A, awareness, maintain conscious awareness of identified patterns. C, choice points. Identify key moments where you can make different decisions. R, response design. Create specific practical alternatives to old behaviors. E, evaluation. Regularly assess the effectiveness of your new approaches. This method ensures that your insights don't just become interesting observations, but transform into actual change. It's like having a GPS for personal growth. It not only shows you where you are, but helps you navigate to where you want to be. The power of these 3 pillars working together creates what I call the growth momentum effect. Each pillar strengthens the others. Conscious reflection reveals the patterns. Pattern recognition informs strategic choices. Strategic implementation creates new experiences to reflect upon. This isn't just theoretical. Let me share a practical example. Imagine someone who consistently struggles with procrastination. Through conscious reflection, they might discover that their procrastination isn't random, but peaks during specific types of projects. Through pattern recognition, they might realize it's not the work itself that triggers procrastination, but the fear of not meeting their own perfectionist standards. Through strategic implementation, they can create specific approaches to handle these trigger points differently. The beauty of this system is that it's self-reinforcing. Each success builds confidence, making it easier to face and learn from new challenges. Each failure becomes not a setback, but a data point for further growth. But here's the crucial part. These pillars aren't sequential steps. They're simultaneous supports. Like the legs of a tripod, they work together to create a stable platform for growth. Remove any one of them, and the structure becomes unstable. Reflection without pattern. Recognition is just remembering. Pattern recognition without implementation is just awareness. Implementation without reflection is just blind action. Your past experiences are like raw diamonds. Conscious reflection is the process of mining them. Pattern recognition is the art of cutting them. And strategic implementation is setting them into something beautiful and useful. Let me tell you about a revolutionary moment in human potential. A moment that occurs not in laboratories or boardrooms, but in the space between your thoughts. It's the moment when you realize that the phrase, "I can't," is almost always followed by an unspoken word, "yet." This is the essence of the growth mindset revolution. It's not just a shift in thinking, it's a complete rewiring of how you interpret your past and envision your future. The revolution begins with a simple but powerful truth. Your abilities are not fixed traits, they are growing resources. Think about how you currently view your capabilities. When you face a challenge, do you think, "I'm not good at this"? Or do you think, "I'm not good at this yet"? That three-letter word, "yet," contains within it the seed of all human potential. It's the difference between a wall and a door, between limits and possibilities. Let me share with you what I call the 4 transformational shifts of the growth mindset. 1, from failure is the end to failure is data. When you embrace a growth mindset, every setback becomes a data point in your journey of improvement. Just as a scientist doesn't get discouraged by experiments that don't yield the expected results, you begin to see your failures not as verdicts, but as valuable information. 2, from I am to I am becoming. This shift transforms fixed identity statements into growth narratives. Instead of "I am bad at public speaking," you think, "I am developing my communication skills." This isn't just positive thinking. It's acknowledging the reality that you are always in a state of potential development. 3, from avoid challenges to seek growth. When you understand that struggle is not a sign of weakness, but a catalyst for growth, you begin to actively seek out challenges that will stretch you. Comfort zones become not places to rest, but bases from which to launch new explorations. 4, from either or to not yet. This shift eliminates the false dichotomy of success and failure, replacing it with a spectrum of development. You're not either good at something or bad at it. You're at a particular point in your journey of mastery. But here's what makes this revolution so powerful. It's based not on wishful thinking, but on the science of human potential. Research has shown that people who adopt a growth mindset not only achieve more, but also demonstrate greater resilience in the face of setbacks. Let me show you how this works in practice. Think about a skill you've always wanted to develop, but haven't because you believed you weren't naturally good at it. Now, imagine approaching that skill with these 4 questions. 1, what small step could I take today to begin developing this ability? 2, what can I learn from my previous attempts? 3, who has mastered this skill that I can learn from? 4, how will I measure my progress? Notice how these questions assume growth is possible. They don't ask if you can develop the skill, but how you will develop it. This is the growth mindset in action. It transforms impossible into not yet achieved. The most powerful aspect of the growth mindset revolution is its compound effect. Each time you approach a challenge with a growth mindset, you strengthen your capacity to learn from experience. Each time you replace I can't with I can't yet, you're not just changing your words, you're rewiring your brain's response to challenges. This isn't about denying reality or pretending that limitations don't exist. It's about understanding that most limitations are temporary stations on your journey, not permanent addresses where you must reside. The question isn't whether growth is possible, it's how committed you are to the process of growing. Think about how this revolution could transform your life. What if every setback became a setup for a comeback? What if every failure became a lesson in disguise? What if your past experiences weren't weights holding you down, but wings helping you soar? The growth mindset revolution isn't just about changing how you think. It's about changing how you live. It's about approaching each day not as a test of your fixed abilities, but as an opportunity to develop new capabilities. It's about understanding that who you are today is not who you have to be tomorrow. Are you ready to join this revolution? Are you prepared to transform your relationship with challenge and change? Because the moment you embrace the growth mindset is the moment you begin to unlock your true potential. Now let's transform everything we've discussed into daily action. Because inspiration without implementation is merely entertainment. I'm going to share with you what I call the growth integration system, a practical framework that turns these powerful concepts into daily habits. Let's start with your daily practice. I want you to implement what I call the power hour of reflection. First 20 minutes, morning reflection. Write down 3 lessons from yesterday's experiences. Identify one pattern you want to be conscious of today. Set an intention for how you'll apply a past lesson to today's challenges. Middle 20 minutes, midday reset. Take a conscious pause to assess your current behaviors. Compare your actions with your morning intentions. Make necessary adjustments based on past lessons. Final 20 minutes, evening integration. Document key experiences and insights from the day. Identify what worked and what needs refinement. Plan specific applications for tomorrow. Your weekly review should become a sacred appointment with yourself. Every Sunday evening, dedicate time to what I call the 4 R's. Review, examine the past week's experiences, reflect, extract key lessons and patterns. Revise, adjust your strategies based on what you've learned. Resolve, set clear intentions for the upcoming week. For your monthly growth assessment, use the PACE framework. P, progress, measure advancement toward your goals. A, adjustments, identify necessary strategy changes. C, challenges, address ongoing obstacles. E, evolution, track your personal development. Your year-end life audit should be a comprehensive evaluation using the LEARN model. L, look back, review the year's major experiences. E, evaluate, assess patterns and progress. A, analyze, understand what worked and what didn't. R, refine, adjust your approach based on insights. N, next steps, plan concrete actions for the coming year. But here's the key to making this framework work. Start small. Don't try to implement everything at once. Begin with the daily practice, master it, then gradually incorporate the weekly, monthly, and yearly components. Remember, this isn't about perfect execution. It's about consistent progress. Use what I call the 1% rule. Focus on being just 1% better in your reflection and application each day. This small improvement compounds over time into massive transformation. The power of this framework lies not in its complexity, but in its consistency. It's not about dramatic changes, it's about deliberate, sustained growth through conscious reflection and application. Your past experiences are like gold in the ground. They have tremendous value, but only if you mine them properly. This framework is your mining equipment. Use it diligently, and you'll uncover treasures in your experiences that you never knew existed. The choice is yours, but let me be clear. This is not just about learning from the past. This is about revolutionizing how you create your future. Every person who has ever achieved greatness has done so not by avoiding their past, but by mining it for wisdom, strength, and insight. Remember, the greatest tragedy in life is not failure. It's allowing our past experiences to go untapped, their lessons unlearned, their wisdom unclaimed. The diamonds of wisdom are waiting in the depths of your experiences. The tools for mining them are in your hands. The time for transformation is now. Rise up, dig deep, Transform your past into power. Your greatest achievements aren't behind you, they're ahead of you, waiting to be built on the foundation of everything you've learned. The future belongs to those who learn from their past. Your future begins now.